All right, everybody. Hey, it's the Always Be Cool podcast with your hosts, Bobby Kerr, Darren Copeland.
What's up, everybody?
Hanging out with our good friend, former Chiefs NFL star, JJ Birden. Take it away, DC.
Right on. I'll do a quick intro for everyone here. So born June 16th, 1965, graduated from Lakeridge High School in Lake Oswego, Oregon. Later graduated from the University of Oregon. So go Ducks, right, JJ? 2010 inducted into the University of Oregon's Hall of Fame for his performance on the 1985 track and field NCAA championship team. He was actually drafted in the 8th round by the Cleveland Browns. He played 9 NFL seasons for the Kansas City Chiefs and Atlanta Falcons. His wife is Raina. They have 8 children, including 5 they adopted with nieces and nephews. And a little known fact, Bobby, only player in the NFL in the last 30 years to play to play at least 9 seasons and weighed under 160 pounds, which is amazing. JJ is a physical fitness advocator, entrepreneur, phenomenal motivational speaker, and just an all-around awesome dude. So JJ Birden, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, what's up, DC and BK? It's good to be on the show.
Hey, brother. Happy to have you, man.
It's good to have you, man. Hey, did we nail everything on the intro? Was there anything else that we should hit on before we get started?
Nah, you crushed it. You hit all the important stuff.
Right on.
Hey, right on, man. I got to throw it out there. So I got through my college days in the late 80s, early 90s playing Super Tecmo Bowl, and I'd always swap you in on the Super Tecmo Bowl in there, man. So I appreciate that.
Well, that's pretty cool, and I'm blown away because there's so many guys that still play Tecmo Bowl, and they're messaging me on social media telling me how they're still playing it. So I wasn't surprised.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we were
man.
talking, and growing up a kid in Kansas City in the 80s and early 90s, I told DC that my 2 Chiefs receivers that I remember, the first 2 that I can remember, were you and Stephon Page.
Nice.
Like, those are the guys, like when I was growing up, a little kid in Kansas City, those are my guys. So it's pretty cool to have you on the show. We really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. So it was really cool. So, growing up in that era, JJ, the Chiefs were really kind of in a down period of time. And then I remember just being a kid and the excitement in Kansas City. Marty had gotten fired in Cleveland, and, he came to Kansas City, and everyone was so jacked to get Marty Schottenheimer here in Kansas City because he was a winner. Yeah, he had a couple of unfortunate playoff games there in Cleveland, but man, I know you're a huge fan of his. So maybe you could start off and tell us 1 or 2 stories about Marty and your relationship with him.
Yeah, Marty was definitely a winner, and someone that was really kind of true to my heart because he drafted me in Cleveland. And guys, I didn't have a very impressive college football career. I had like 1 touchdown, and 19 catches my senior year. But Marty saw something in me, and when the Browns fired him, I could not believe it. And obviously I had to stay there. But when the Browns cut me the next year, Marty was one of the first coaches to call me. So I knew eventually I would end up playing for Marty. I kind of went the Dallas Cowboy route first. But
Right.
when it was time to make the right decision going into my 3rd year, I felt the Chiefs was a good fit. Marty was there. The Chiefs need a little bit of speed at the time, so I thought I could deliver there.
Yeah. That's awesome. So how did that work out? So were you on the practice squad with the Dallas Cowboys, or maybe you went to camp?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story because when the Browns cut me, I had the Chiefs call me right away. So I flew out to Kansas City. I worked out for Marty, Al Saunders, wide receiver coach, and they wanted to put me in the practice squad right then. And while we're having this conversation, the Detroit Lions were on the phone, and they called my agent and said, "We want to activate you this weekend and put you on the roster." So Marty's like, "Hey, we're not ready to activate you, so you go sign with the Lions." But he's like, if they want to put you on the practice squad, you come back and be on my practice squad. And I said, you got a deal. But what happened was, I fly out to Detroit, and my knee swollen from this great workout I had with the Chiefs. So they flunked me on the physical. And then Green Bay Packers called. I fly out to Green Bay. I flunked their physical because of the swelling of my knee. So I'm thinking I still got Marty. So I fly back to Kansas City, and by this time they've heard I flunked 2 NFL teams' physicals. So the Chiefs flunked me on the physical.
Oh, man.
So I was kind of upset with the Chiefs because the swelling of my knee was because of the great workout.
Right, exactly.
So that was why I ended up in Dallas, because when Dallas called and then Kansas City called, and I was kind of mad at Marty, so I said, I'm going to Dallas. So I stayed on the practice squad all year for the Cowboys.
That's cool, man. Well, going back to college a little bit. So tell us, because you're a track star at Oregon. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, you were in the Olympic trials in 1988. Is that correct?
Yeah, I qualified for it, yes.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a big deal. So I know you weren't really expecting to get drafted. So how did that come about? Was it an invitation to the combine? Is that how that road kind of started for you?
Well, the football thing really at Oregon was just because Oregon and every Division I college said I was too small to play coming out of high school. Because I was 5'9", 132 pounds. I was the number one wide receiver in the state. I had these crazy stats, but no Division I college would recruit me. So I knew I'd get a track scholarship. And as the different colleges came down to visit me, I'd say, what do you think about me walking on and playing football one year? And Oregon was the only D1 school that said, hey, you come run for the Ducks. And if the coaches allow you, you have our blessing to walk on the second year. And so I convinced head coach Rich Brooks the second year to let me walk on. And I made the team, guys. That was really the goal, just to show them I could play. But I was locked in on track the whole time.
So I've heard you say in a couple different interviews and some things that I've read that, I think unlike a lot of, let's just say receivers going from high school to college and then eventually to the pros, their goal is to get to the NFL. They say, this is my goal, this is what I want to do. But I've heard you say that was really not your goal.
Not at all. I wasn't that kid who was dreaming at a young age that he wanted to play in the NFL. Even when I was in high school, scoring all these touchdowns, I was not thinking about the NFL. And guys also, too, I thought I was too small. They were too big. I wasn't really built for the NFL. But it was more like when someone tells you you can't do something, I have that attitude, I'll show you. And I'll show you led to the NFL.
That's awesome.
So, I think you became the victor instead of the victim, right? So if you're having people tell you consistently, oh, you're too small, or there's no way you're going to play past high school, there's no way you're going to play past college, I think it takes a certainly strong individual to be able to say, there's no way I'm going to let the sheep. We have a saying that lions don't care about sheep's opinions, right? And in this instance, right, like you're growing up, you're a lion. You're saying no to the haters. No, I'm going to make it. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah, exactly. And most of my life, always being an undersized kid from grade school, junior high and high school, I always had people saying, you're too small, you can't do this. And everyone always saw me as an underdog. And I never believed I was an underdog, and I felt I had always a championship mindset. I had to work ethic like an underdog, but I knew that I had the abilities just if I was given the opportunity.
That's awesome. And JJ, you have a really cool story, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us. But as you were talking to Marty and trying to land on with the Chiefs, tell us a story that I think you called it you had a honeymoon baby on the way, and and you called Marty and things were a little tight on cash and kind of take it from there.
Yeah. So let me just say this. So when I signed with the Chiefs in 1990, I had a really good off season. Ran a 4.3. I lit it up, and I knew I was going to make the team. but there were some guys they drafted, so the business side kicks in. So I got cut. But as soon as I got cut, Marty called me to his office and said, "Hey, kid, you deserve to be on this team. You're going to be on this team, but I need 2 weeks. So give me 2 weeks, hold tight." So at this time, like you said, 3 months prior, I got married. We found out my wife was pregnant on our honeymoon. And then I didn't have very much money. I didn't make money my first 2 years. So 2 weeks go by, and I got like $250 in my bank account. And my wife and I were like, what are we going to do? Now, by this time, other teams are calling. But I promised Marty I'd give him 2 weeks. So after that second game, I called him up and I said, "Marty, I got to make a decision. And you guys haven't signed. I don't have any money." And so Marty says, "Come to my office." So I drive over to Arrowhead. I go to his office. And as soon as I walk in, Marty whips out his wallet. He takes out $200 and he says, "Will this get you through the weekend?" And I go, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, take your wife out to dinner."
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that Sunday, whoever they played, they ended up cutting Pete Manley after the game. They signed me to the team, and the rest is history.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
So, we've mentioned Marty a couple times already, and you have too. And I think obviously he played a pretty important, integral role in your career and in your life. We've heard a lot of great things about Marty over the years, obviously being in Kansas City for the majority of our lives. But our number one core value, our personal number one core values, as well as our company, is integrity.
Right.
And we've heard a lot of stories about Marty having a ton of integrity and wanting to give his team members and having his players have as much of a chance to succeed as possible. And so two things, maybe speak a little bit to him in that scenario, right? He wants you to have every opportunity to succeed, and making sure that he has integrity, you having integrity to keep your promise to him, which I bet in this industry that we're talking about maybe doesn't happen a lot of times. Somebody doesn't hold their promise, especially if it's verbal. And lastly, maybe speak a little bit how this translates into the business world or personal relationships.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point that you're making, because in the profession of the NFL, it's really a business. And there's not much loyalty, there's not much integrity. But I think I really connected with Marty from day one when I was in Cleveland. Because, guys, you got to understand, I was a wild card. I mean, I didn't have much as far as statistics in college. So when I was drafted in Cleveland, I felt like even the staff was like, okay, who is this kid? But like Marty was following me around the whole time. He was like in my ear. He was coaching me because Marty saw something in me. So when it was time to make that decision that third year, and I had a couple other teams interested in me that actually offered me a little bit more money. And I felt that Marty believed in me the most, and he was going to give me the most fairest opportunity to make the team. And it proved to be the right decision.
Sure. Is that common for a head coach, especially, to be that attentive to a lower round draft pick, or is it just something special with your relationship?
I think it's a combination of both. I think sometimes a coach sees something in a player and maybe others doubt, but he believes in that player. And we had that connection because I'll tell you guys, when I got to Kansas City, I later found out that offensive coordinator Joe Pendry did not want me there. He did not want a small time wide receiver, and they were a little upset that I was brought onto the team. But Marty gave me every opportunity to make sure Joe fell in love. Joe Pendry fell in love, and eventually he did. But it's just always nice to see that at the NFL level, because you don't typically see such loyalty between a coach and a player.
Well, and that's really cool, because it really seemed like he was a fan of yours. Like you said, he saw something in you. So looking at that, JJ, having that a mentor, if you will, how do you do that? Like in some of your, public speaking and the other things that you do? How do you translate things that you've learned from coaches like Marty Schottenheimer in your career? How do you translate that into some of the things you do today?
Oh, I do it throughout my keynotes because I realized that I did something that was pretty unique. Making it to the NFL, how hard it is to make it to the NFL, let alone stay there. But there's certain principles and winning strategies and qualities that it took. And a lot of these are transferable into the real world, into the business world, into your personal life. And so, like you mentioned, having a mentor. As an athlete, I always gravitated towards the experienced wide receiver, the experienced coach. Who can I learn from? Who can help me with that inevitable learning curve? And it's one of the things I speak on, and I do a lot of corporate speaking. I'm always challenging my audience to find that mentor, find that person who has already walked the road that you're trying to get on, and see what you can learn from. Because one of the easiest ways to choose success in something is find someone who's already been there and done that and do what they did to get there.
That's super cool, man.
Well,
that's super amazing.
It is. I think with that, we're talking about mentorship and coaches and leaders, and it doesn't matter the arena, but having someone be able to tell you what you need to hear versus what you want to hear, I think is the most important piece when you're looking for that mentor. When you're looking for someone within an organization or a sports team or whatever it is, just be able to have those difficult conversations is tough to hear sometimes, but necessary.
Yeah, it really is. And it's one of the things I will tell people, because they'll ask me, how do you find a mentor? I'll say what I already said, find someone who's already achieved success. Find someone out there who's leading from the front. But like what you said, find someone who's going to be a reliable accountability partner. They're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, because feedback is the breakfast of champions.
That's it.
That was my nugget I was hanging on to.
You can cross that off now.
I'm gonna cross that off my notes.
Good job, JJ.
Here's the thing. I heard you say that, doing our research, I heard you say that in a different podcast from a year or two ago. And I've been holding on to that all week to tell DC.
Right.
And I wanted to save it for right here and be like, listen to this nugget. This is good. Yeah. I heard that and I was like, that is good.
Oh, man. So we have all these acronyms around our office here, JJ. So we got a mortgage and insurance and other businesses here in Kansas City. So we have acronyms all over the place, right? So that's going to be the next T-shirt.
It is. I'm going to cross that thing out. Right
cross that thing out.
That's like awesome, one of my favorite ones because,
that's a good
people
one.
Who really want to be the best, who want to really grow and who want to really improve, they're willing to take that feedback and they eat it up like it's food. Because they know it's what's going to make them better. And I tell you guys, even at the NFL level, there were some players who struggled with taking feedback because their egos got in the way. And these are the ones who had short careers. But those guys who had much longer careers realized that you always got to have a growth mindset. You always got to be willing to take the constructive criticism and apply it.
Right. Well, and I'm sure that goes down to, all these guys coming up through the ranks, even in elementary school, like they were the bomb, junior high, high school, college, and everyone's bowing down to them. So when they get into a situation, like you said, it's a business, right? And that feedback is coming that they probably never heard. Man, I bet that was a big ego clash with a lot of guys.
Yeah, DC, you make a great point because that's where you'd see some guys struggle. And it was what you said. They were the man all the time. They were the star, the stud, the guy who always got the passes, got the reps. Then you get to the NFL, and you look around, and you see that guy was All-American. That guy was All-Star. Everybody's a great athlete with all these accolades. And it's the athletes who recognize that and say, okay, I got to get better, versus the guy that says, well, shoot, I was an all-star in college. I should be getting the ball. I should be playing more. They don't have the right attitude, and those guys end up having short careers.
Yeah.
Was there anybody that you played with that really was that as a player, right? Not another coach, but was there another player that kind of showed you that way of doing things the right way?
Absolutely. I mean, talking about mentors again, Every team I went to, I always looked for the veteran wide receiver. When I was in Cleveland, it was Webster Slaughter, Brian Brennan,
Webster Slaughter.
Reggie Langhorn. Those were experienced veterans, and I picked their brains. I learned so much from them. Then when I got to Kansas City, it was Stephon Page and Emil Harry. Those guys are great. They taught me so much about playing the wide receiver position at the NFL level. And what's interesting, when I got to Atlanta, I was the veteran. So I was teaching.
You were the guy.
You were the guy.
You know? So I wanted to make sure I paid it forward.
Right. Now, so talking about that, so when you went to Atlanta, did some of the younger wide receivers come up and try to pick your brain now that you were the veteran on the team?
Absolutely. And I remember how Stephon Page made me feel. You know, he was this great wide receiver, and he was so approachable. He was so kind. He was always willing to teach and share. And I wanted to make sure that I duplicated his example. So when these young guys would come up to me, I'd help them. Because guys, I was confident in my abilities. I wasn't worried about these guys taking my job. As long as I did my job, they weren't getting my job.
Right.
But I was willing to share it. And I'll tell you a quick little story, because I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago when I went to the Chiefs alumni event. But Chris Penn and Lake Dawson both gave me these amazing compliments, because I hadn't seen them for years. They said, I just wanted to thank you so much, because when you were here, you helped us so much, and it really made me better. And I didn't really think about it, but you didn't realize until later that you had an effect on these younger wide receivers, which is the same as Webster Slaughter and Stephon Page did for me.
Man, that's so cool. So you know what you are, JJ? You're an elevator person. So we talk about this all the time in our business. There's elevator people and there's basement people, right? And you always want to be hanging out around the elevator people, because no matter what, they're going to lift you up. They don't have any ulterior motives or anything like that. Like, they're positive people, and that's what we try to surround ourselves all the time, man. So you can implement this into your public speaking. So elevator people, basement people.
Well, I like
all right,
that.
There you go.
Because there's something when I keynote, I talk about the joy of seeing other people win. I love seeing everybody win. And because sometimes people feel threatened by that. But, when this guy's winning, that guy's winning, the team is winning, the company's winning, So, but I like how you said that. Elevator people at the top and at the bottom.
You can use that in all your keynotes. Just make sure to say "brought to you by the Always Be Cool podcast." Find them on Spotify, Apple.
Right. Hey, tell him our other one about scoring a touchdown.
Oh yeah, we always talk about, again, elevator people. Whenever you score a touchdown, you turn around. It's not who's clapping. Look around to see who's not clapping.
Right. Yeah. Well, you want to be around people that have pom-poms cheering you on and not pepper spray.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Well, talking about being a mentor yourself, once you were that vet, you were that guy when you got to Atlanta. You obviously, JJ, you have a big heart. You have a servant's heart. You want to help people. You want to lift people up. You want to be an elevator person. It's apparent from your time playing professional sports. It's apparent with your time now as a motivational speaker. To me, doing my research on you, doing our research and learning about you through these things, I don't know that there's a better story to tell about your family and how you came to be a family of 10. So can you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I, Raina, we just had a 32nd wedding anniversary.
Wow, congrats, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
And when we got married, we had a simple goal when it came to children. We wanted 3. More than that, less than that, not enough. And so we have LeJordan Jr., Dante, and Camille. And in 2007, I received an unexpected call from my nephew, Justin, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And there were some problems happening out there. So the next day, I flew out to Tulsa to check on them. And then 24 hours later after that, I'm in a courthouse standing before a judge. And the judge says, Mr. Birden, we're going to take your 5 nieces and nephews and place them in 5 separate foster homes. You're the next of kin. What would you like to do?
Wow.
And you can only imagine having to make that decision that's going to impact so many lives. But I did what any smart husband would do. I was like, Judge, let me call my wife first.
That's right.
But my,
and how'd that conversation go?
well, good question. Because I talked to my wife, we're in the hallway, and I said, hey, babe, I will not bring these children home if it's going to negatively affect our relationship, our children. And my wife said, could you really sleep at night knowing we could have made a difference?
Wow.
And it was a done deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
That's a good woman, man.
Wow.
She's a keeper.
My wife.
Yeah,
Raina,
I'd say you can't keep Raina around for another 32 years.
Yeah. And you're right. And she's amazing because not too many women are going to take on 5 children all at once. They were ranging from 6 years old up to 14. But we did it. It was a lot of work. It wasn't easy, but it became a big team working together. And the youngest one moved out a year and a half ago, so now we're finally empty nesters.
Wow. Holy smokes, man. But what an amazing story, because not only are you and Raina awesome parents to your 3 kids, but you said the ages were between 6 and 14 of your nieces and nephews, right?
Yeah.
Man, you literally changed their entire track.
Change the tree.
Yeah, of their lives, man. I mean, 5 separate homes and foster homes, and I don't know anything about that system, but I can't even imagine, what that would be like. But to keep those brothers and sisters together, and then in a family member's home, man, kudos to you, because there's not a lot of people that would do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think that was really the main driving force. Raina and I felt that we could make an impact on 5 more lives and give them a chance for, whatever future opportunities they want, because they were in a really bad situation. But I'm just glad we had the ability to do it and work together as a team to make it happen.
Well, we've talked a lot about your path and your path through professional sports, through what you're doing now with business, and overcoming a good amount of obstacles, whether it's where you grew up in part of Portland, but talk about obstacles that you alleviated for those kiddos by bringing them into your household, and the path that you created for them. So very special.
No, thank you. I appreciate that, BK.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right. Very cool. So before I forget, and we'll come back to some of the things that you're doing right now, but man, I have to go back, because I always would hear about how much Marty Schottenheimer hated the Raiders, back then, Sports Center was just coming along. So, I mean, you're watching like the local news, right? You're watching channels 4, 5, and 9 here in Kansas City way back in the day, right? So, the antenna ears, the rabbit ears, and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit, was it really that different back in the day with Marty? I mean, did he really hate the Raiders that much when that came up twice a year?
Yeah, it was kind of scary. Yeah, Marty would become a totally different person when we played the Raiders. It was like this light switch would go off, and he'd come in on that Wednesday, and you knew it was Raider week. And he
fired up.
He hated the Raiders. He did not like Al Davis. I don't know why. But he infused that passion, that enthusiasm, that energy on us during that week. And I guess I could say, and I'm happy to say, that we won 8 out of 9 times when I was there against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Domination.
Yeah, a total run.
Well, we've had several other athletes on the show that we've been very, very fortunate to have them on, and the stories of players from, let's say, yesteryear, right? A different era of whether it's football or baseball. The mentality of today, athletes a lot of times will go out to dinner with their opponents after the game, right? 2 different teams, where rivals or not. They're hanging out, they're buddies.
They're all buddies now.
They're on the base paths of the baseball field, and they're shaking hands and hugging each other, joking around, or on the football field exchanging jerseys. What do you think that shift was from even 15, 20 years ago to now, like this kind of touchy-feely, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just completely different. Where do you think that paradigm shift happened?
Right, because, I mean, you weren't seeing Steve DeBerg and Joe Montana going out to the middle of the field and signing the other opponent's quarterback's jersey.
Yeah, I know, guys. It's so interesting to watch that. It was so different when we played. The most you could do after the game was just congratulate a guy after a game. That was it. You weren't hanging out with guys, you weren't trading jerseys and all that. I don't know if that has to do with the rule change, because the rules during when I played was you were trying to knock guys' head off. You were cutting safeties, you were knocking people out. I mean, it was such a different game, and now the rules have changed. It's not as physical, and I don't know, maybe the social media element has played a role too. But there's so many differences between the game back when I played versus now.
Right. So speaking of which, I remember what a buzz it was. I think it was 1993 when Joe came to Kansas City. Being on the roster, being a player, what was that like to have a future Hall of Famer come to Kansas City for 2 years that is going to give us a chance to, get a little bit further down, go to the next level, AFC Championship?
Guys, that was freaky. That was just so weird because I remember I was literally on vacation and I was reading the newspaper and said Joe Montana might become a Kansas City Chief. I was like, that's not going to happen. And then the next
that's never going to happen.
Montana is a Kansas City Chief, and I was like, no way. But I remember when we had our first practice and I'm in the huddle, and here comes Joe, and I'm like, that's Joe Montana, I couldn't get over that part. Then I took a turn to my left, and I'm like, that's Marcus Allen, so.
Yeah, that's
right.
It was this kind of, you were like a fan. It was like, you were like this you're an awestruck. And it took me some time to get over the fact, okay, these are my teammates. I play with them now, so let's get out there and do my job.
That had to just be mind-blowing, because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, man, if I'm J.J. Birden getting back in the clubhouse, I'm like asking these dudes to start signing stuff. I mean, that just had to be unbelievable. So tell us a little bit. I mean, obviously Joe Montana was a very intelligent quarterback, but how different was that being in the huddle, because he knew the playbook frontwards and backwards, right?
Yeah, he did. And Joe's presence overall just really caused this surge in our team overall, because we were always making it to the playoffs, but we could never get over the hump. And when Joe joined our team, and you got to understand this, guys, from a motivational speaker standpoint, I'm sitting here thinking, like, what is he going to be like? He's achieved all these amazing things. Is he just going to come in here and rest on his laurels? But you know what? Joe came in, studied like a rookie, he prepared like a veteran, and he led like a pro. And his example lifted up that entire team, so that whenever we were in a game, and it was 2 minutes left, if we had the ball, we knew we were going to win. We had the confidence we didn't have the previous year.
Yeah, you didn't want I've heard a lot of stories and athletes talk about quarterbacks like Joe. And those guys in the huddle, they don't want to drive down the field, end on the 30, and then bring in the kicker.
Right.
You said, no, leave the kicker on the sidelines. Like, we're going to win this game.
Let's go.
Yeah. Let me tell you guys this story. This is when I realized I was playing one of the greatest. So our very first practice, indoor facility, we're doing our off-season training, and we're all in the huddle. So there's that excitement. Here we go. We got this new offense. The first play we called was X-hook. So the very first pass Joe threw as a Chief was X-hook to me. So I'm all excited. I'm like, I get Joe's first pass. Here we go. So it's an X-hook.
Right.
You run 12 yards, turn around. I run up the field. And about 10 yards, right when I make my break, Joe hits me in the back of the helmet with the ball. First time.
Oh, my God.
So I'm sitting there looking at him, and then I look at Willie Davis, and then Joe calls us both over. He goes, come here, Willie. Come here, JD. He says, okay, I don't wait for you to get open. I've already read the defense. I know where the hole is. I thought before you get there. So you got to start learning how to get your head around faster and look for the ball quicker. And I've played guys with so many quarterbacks. I've ran that around 1,000 times, but no one had ever executed like Joe. But little things like that made me better as a wide receiver because of the guy I was playing with.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
I bet your
Right.
route running it just improved exponentially.
Yeah.
On week one or day one. That sounds like.
Well, because at the end of the day, the last person you want to let down is Joe Montana, right?
Oh, yeah.
But he had that presence in the locker room.
And his execution was unreal because, guys, when Joe would throw us the ball on our right hip, he was telling us to turn right. When he threw it on our left hip, he was telling us to turn left. A lot of quarterbacks don't do that. But we quickly learned that.
No.
You've got to understand
Hit
Joe
their
is
spots,
very
yeah.
precise in what he's doing.
Right, exactly. Well, hey, speaking of quarterbacks, as a former player, how exciting is it for you, especially as being as a wide receiver, how exciting is it to see Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City finally getting our franchise quarterback? How cool is that for you to see? Do you ever wish, like back in your heyday, man, do you ever wish that you could just, catch a few balls from Mr. Mahomes?
Yeah, I'm very excited about Patrick. And probably for two reasons. One is, like you said, he's a franchise quarterback. And whenever you have a franchise quarterback, that team is always going to be in the playoffs. Because great quarterbacks can make everybody else good enough. You always have a shot in the Super Bowl. The second thing that gets me excited about is that he's still young. He's still learning the position.
Yeah.
He's still on this learning curve. So we haven't seen the best of him yet. So Kansas City needs to get ready because he's just going to get better and better and better and better.
That's scary.
Yeah, that is scary.
That's scary.
Hey, JJ, will you hook us up with a suite on September 11th when the Chiefs come down and open up against the Arizona Cardinals? Come on, man.
We're coming down.
Come on, dude. We're going to be there.
I just found out.
That's tailgate.
I just found out I'm speaking out of town when they come to town to play.
Really?
You're going to have to change it.
Who's the company you're speaking for?
I don't know.
Just tell them to rearrange their.
50%, so.
Well, there you go. All right. You can't hate on that.
Yeah, you're excused. So
That's
back to a little bit of your story. So
Yes.
You've mentioned underdog. You've mentioned in previous interviews, I've heard you say, I came from the quote unquote hood of, Portland. So I've also heard you say you did whatever it took. You had the mentality of victor instead of victim. So just maybe speak to a little bit of your mentality, where that came from. Did other people in your family have it? Was it exclusive to you? What drove it? And then how did that continue for the rest of your career and still continuing today?
Yeah, I think from a very early age, I recognized that I wanted something different. We were raised in a tough situation. We didn't have much. And even at a young age, I would watch family members and friends make certain decisions. I would see the results. They weren't positive a lot of times, and they struggled. And I just decided I was going to break the cycle. I'm going to do something different. I want to get out of the hood. I want to go see the world. I want to create future opportunities for my family. And that was kind of like my why. We talk about your why. Why do you do what you do?
Yep.
Talk about all the time.
The driving force to really take me where I wanted to go. It was that fuel that I needed. And, I'm the type of person that once I get that why together and I have the mindset, I'm unstoppable. I'm going to do whatever it takes in spite of failure, adversities, challenges, obstacles, or whatever. Because something you mentioned early, BK, because so many people in my surrounding, they were that victim mentality. They made up excuses because of their environment or what others were doing. But I always wanted to be the victor. I wanted to get out there and change my circumstances. But I also knew it wasn't going to be easy. I had to be willing to do the work. And that's something that's always stayed with me, no matter if it's athletics, it's business, it's my family. I want to try to be the best of the best at anything that I do.
How do you relay that and teach that, whether it's in an hour-long keynote or you're doing consultations with an actual organization? How do you get that feeling to come across to other business leaders?
Yeah, great question. one of my keynotes is called Seizing Your Opportunities. It's my most popular keynote. And there's 7 steps that I go through with, these companies. Obviously I've done my homework. I know kind of where they're struggling. I know, what problems they're looking to solve. But I talk about mindset. Because I think that's the most important of anything we do. Because how you think, what you think, it matters. And so from there I go to why. Just talking about that. Even helping people in the corporate world. Why do you do this job? What is driving you to be here every single day? Because if your why is strong enough, the process to get there's not a challenge. You'll do whatever it takes. And then we move to game plan. Okay, you know what you want? What's the game plan? What's the strategy? And then I hammer them with, you got to be willing to do the work. Because everybody wants success, but not everybody's willing to do what it takes. And I like to warn them of, I call it FASCA. It's an acronym I made up. It represents failures, adversities, setbacks, challenges, and obstacles. You're going to deal with these moments.
Nice.
These are opportunities for growth. When you have an obstacle you're dealing with or adversity, you ask yourself, why did this happen? What can I learn from it? And how can I turn this into an opportunity? Because I believe those are some of the greatest mentoring moments. And then the last point I give them is this. Don't fall into the complacency trap. Because when some achieve success, they tend to get comfortable. They tend to get lax. This is what gets people in trouble. You keep, and this is something I learned from Joe Montana. Joe would always say, when I hit a goal, I say, what's next? And I raise the bar a little higher, and I go after the next goal. And so that's something I try to instill to my audience, is that you should always be raising the bar, always challenging yourself, because you never know how far you go.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's
we say
killer.
something very similar, or DC says it basically. Once you hit your goal, it's a lot of the people just take your foot off the gas, right? And then they start coasting. And then that's when you get passed. That's when you get lapped. If we're sticking with the driving metaphor, you take your foot off the gas, and that's when you lose your lead.
Exactly. And I think Joe Montana says this all the time. His biggest fear was just failing. So he would put in the work so much and outwork everyone, because you're right, JJ. Like, everyone, a lot of people have goals, but a lot of people aren't willing to put in the work to get those goals. Right. We talk about like the triangle, the pyramid of success, the iceberg of success, where, it shows all the success up here and, all the cool things, that you're doing right now, but underneath the water, all the disappointments and failures and all the long nights and all that. People don't see that behind the scenes, right? They just see, JJ scoring a 50-yard touchdown. Like, let me say it. One of the words we can't stand, JJ, is lucky.
Oh, yeah.
We can't stand when someone says, man, gosh, JJ's so lucky. He was in the NFL for 9 seasons. Man, they have no idea what you went through. And, and the money back then, and the $200 from Marty, like, people just don't get it. Well, not only that,
in DC, I've had people say to me that I was lucky to make the NFL. My uncle was a great athlete, or my mom was very athletic. You know what I tell them? I said, genetics don't cause you to wake up at 5 a.m. Genetics don't get you in your playbook for hours and working out in the sun.
True that.
And it's like you said, and it's about doing the work. But what I learned from the NFL and why the NFL average now careers dropped to less than 2 years is that some guys would make it, but they didn't know how to stay there. They didn't know how to continue to challenge themselves. And that's why at 5'10", 157 pounds, I was able to play 9 years.
Yeah.
So this past Monday, just 3 days ago, we had George Brett on the show. And he came into the studio, and he was sitting right here, and he said, making it to the big leagues is actually pretty easy. Staying there is what's hard.
Yeah.
And, that's very similar to what you just said.
Yeah, and it's really a mindset, guys. And it's really a mindset, one of the things I did that I teach in my keynotes is I say, going into training camp, it wasn't like, okay, I'm just going to do what I did last year. No, it's how can I be better than I was the season before? And I would say that from week to week. How can I be better than last week than I was this week? Because, again, when you have a growth mindset, you recognize that you can continue to grow, you can continue to improve, and you're willing to put in the work to do so. Those are the habits that have stayed with me. I'm 57 years old, and I'm still doing it at the same pace.
Yep. That's amazing because, another thing that we always talk about, JJ, and I know in my personal life I feel the same thing, but we're really big on morning routines, and we try to coach our, staff and our team members because, I get up at X amount, in the morning, but, I get a reading in, I get, my workout in, get your breakfast in. And it really, I call it's like putting on your mental armor for the day to get your morning routine going. So no matter what pings you and hits you and, whatever hits you, it just kind of bounces off a little bit easier. Yeah. So we're really big on the whole morning routine just to get your head straight.
I love that, guys. And I could not agree with you more. Sports, in particular NFL, really taught me the importance of structure. When you're in NFL, you were told where to be and when to be there. We had these schedules. And I've continued to live like that because just through my experiences, I've learned that the enemy of success is disorganization. So if your day is organized and mapped out, man, you got an opportunity to crush that day.
Oh yeah, we actually we had an interview with someone that is considering joining our team, and they were discussing how they kind of lacked structure. They didn't know where their finances were going. They're trying to build their own personal business, but they don't really know where everything's going. And at the end of the day, you're like, I should be way more successful, but I don't. Where is everything at, right? Yeah. And, the first thing that we always coach is about organization and structure because all the success will follow if you put in the work, just like you said. It doesn't matter if you're an NFL receiver, if you're running a business, a mortgage company, or if you're selling phone books. That's still a thing, if you have structure, then you can do it. And
you got to plan for success.
Yeah, plan for success. Yeah, it's so cliche, but it's so true.
It really is. So, hey, speaking of success, man, so you're also an author as well, JJ. So tell us a little bit about the book that you've done. And if I'm not mistaken, I think people can actually maybe get a signed copy of that book. Is that correct?
This is the first book I wrote. It's called When Opportunity Knocks, 8 Surefire Ways to Take Advantage. And I always had a goal to become an author. And this is really about seizing your opportunities in life, And when I say opportunities, anything that's important to you. So it's kind of like a roadmap, a blueprint. But here's what you need to do. Released it about 5 years ago. Like you said, you go to my website, you order from there. I sign all of those that come through. But I'm really excited because I'm in the early stages of planning book number 2, which is actually going to be an autobiography. Consistent.
Right on, man.
And it's interesting, guys, because after writing this, I had quite a few people say, why didn't you write an autobiography? Because they know parts of my story. But it's going to be more about my story, but more of a teaching standpoint. Mm-hmm. And it's going to really, I don't know the title yet. It's going to have something to do with, I think it's going to be something like, under 160 pounds, something underdog. It's going to be something like that because what you said, DC, earlier, and I'm continuing to research this, guys, but so far I'm 35 years into the NFL. I haven't found a player yet who played longer than me that weighed under 160 pounds. There's some guys like Mark McMillan played 8 years. He was lighter than me. Gerald McMillan played 7. So I'm doing my homework because that's something that's really going to be connected to my brand.
That's
super cool. Hey, can you give everyone what is your website, JJ, so people can go find out where this is?
Yeah, go to jjbirden.com. You can see some clips of me speaking on there. Obviously, my book pages on there where you can order from. And yeah, like I said, when it's ordered through my site, the books come to me. So that's why I'm able to find them.
Cool. But before we start to wrap up, we want to make sure we're respectful of your time. You're very much obviously involved with physical fitness, maintaining that. The fact I was going to ask exactly how old you were because you look like you're about 29. So you're doing something right. And I think there's some knowledge to make sure that we share with some listeners and some viewers. So there's another company I know that you're associated with. Would you like to speak about them a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been associated with the health and wellness company called Isagenix about 9 years. And it was really And it was really happened because my weight started increasing as we started getting a little older, and I realized I needed some kind of system to keep my weight under control. And I researched about 50 different health and wellness companies, and Isagenix nutritional system stood out. And I ended up using the products, I ended up making it into an online wellness business. And I love it too because if you guys follow me, you know I'm all about living a healthy lifestyle. You know, because I preach about positivity and motivation and just these elements that I really want to lift people up, but also want to look the part. You know, I want to be an ambassador of health.
Right. Exactly.
You better look the part.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be bragging on it and roll up at 300 pounds, right?
And also, too, guys, you know, we're losing a lot of our team members. I've lost some team members to death over, so many guys over the last 5 years. And quite a few of them, it was due to the fact that they didn't take care of their health. Things that were in their control. So I just want to make sure I'm doing what I can to take care of my health. Because, I got the aches and pains for playing in the NFL, but I'm doing the best to control what I can control.
That's awesome, man.
That's good. That's really all of us. I mean, I wake up with aches and pains too. But
my gosh.
First of all, I'm going to go home now. You've motivated me to throw away that package of Oreos that's in there. And I'm not even kidding.
Hey, that's a beauty.
It's not worth it, dude.
Guys, if you do it right, then you can have those cheat meals.
You can still have it.
That cocktail.
That's true.
You can have those cheat days.
Right.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I just mix my whiskey with water now instead of Coke.
So JJ, so there's a local workout place. I know they have them in Phoenix, so we'll plug them real quick. So Orange Theory Fitness, right? So there's Orange Theory Fitnesses in both KC and Phoenix. But our coach Steve, which I know he always loves me plugging it, but he tells me, DC, you can never outwork bad nutrition.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, you can have the cheating days, but you still have to work out. But if you're working out and your nutrition is just not what it's supposed to be, man, you're just not going to make any inroads.
The 80-20 rule is real. It's 80% what you put in your body and 20% what you do with your body.
It's true. That's
true.
awesome,
and
man.
I think this is a perfect way to put a bow on it with everything that you preach, that you teach. Whatever mindset you're in, then your body will start to follow. So if you're not in a positive mindset and a healthy mindset, that you want to make sure everything in your life is the best that it can be in a positive light, then you're sure as hell not going to be able to get your physical self in the right state of as well.
I love that,
Absolutely.
BK. Yeah, I love my sayings is positive mindset separates the best from the rest. And when you have that positive mindset, you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go. You're ready to attack the day.
That's awesome stuff. JJ, man, thank you so much. Hey, next time you're in Kansas City, hit us up. We'd love to see you in person, man.
Great.
So, yeah.
But JJ, we'll stop recording, but stay on the line if you would for just a second. But everybody, make sure you check out JJ and his book at jjbirden.com. Make sure to check us out online for the podcast, on Spotify, on Google, on Apple, as well as Instagram and Facebook. Always Be Cool podcast. Guys, take care. JJ Birden, everybody.
Cool. Thank you,
JJ.
JJ.
DC, BK, thank you.
All right, man.
Thanks so much,
See you guys.
Take care.